Hey everybody, so today I'm going to be reviewing Who Fears Death by Nnedi Okorafor, and this is going to be an entirely spoiler-free review just because I feel like not a lot of people have read this book. I don't even know how it came upon my books. I have like a long list of like books that I want to read. I don't know how this book got on there, but I googled it. I was like, that seems interesting, and so I picked it up. And so this is going to be a pretty mixed review. There were some elements of the story that I liked, but there were also some things that I had some pretty big problems with. And so first, I'm just going to kind of give a brief teaser of what the book is about, just because I feel like I said, a lot of people I don't think have ever heard of this story. Basically, this story is following a girl in post-apocalyptic Sudan. That is like kind of like the setting for the story, which is pretty interesting. Um, and the girl is born of rape. That is how she was born, and in her culture, this culture that she lives in, that is a very bad thing. Just because there's this belief in with the people that she lives in, that if you are born of violence, that you will go on to commit violence, which is a really interesting kind of spot for our protagonist to be put in. And I thought that that was a really interesting concept, which is actually one of the reasons that I wanted to pick up the book, because I kind of knew that going in. I'm like, that's interesting. I want to see how that goes. And the story also deals with some other, I mean, just right away, that could already be a bit of a controversial topic for some people. And the story also tackles a few more controversial topics that I won't get into for spoiler reasons, but I think that the book handles them in a very interesting way that I think that a lot of people will find engaging, that you don't see in many other stories. And that is honestly probably the biggest amount of praise that I could give to the story, is it was so original in so many ways. From the setting, from the way that the story is written. Okorafor's prose I thought was unique in that way. I thought the story was told in just a more of, and I think that that was intentional. Obviously, this is a story that takes place in Africa, and that's kind of like the prose that's being used is from like an African folktale, and I did enjoy that. Some of the problems that I did have though had to do with the emotion elements. I felt like there were several moments that just kind of fell flat for me. That I don't feel like some of the relationships between characters, I don't think that they were super well established. There were a few that were good. But for the most part, I was just not really feeling some of the friendships, some of the romantic relationships. I wasn't really buying them, if I'm being totally honest. And I think that that also carries over to just character development in general. Other than the main protagonist, which was very interesting, the rest of the characters were really kind of bland, in my opinion. And also, I think that one of the other problems that I had is that where this story really shined is where it was original, but it was when it fell back on these like more traditional tropes that you see in other stories, that I feel like those tropes were not executed very well at all. And like I said, I won't get into them for spoiler reasons, but like there were some things that, like, that you've seen before. And obviously, I mean, tropes are not inherently bad. I mean, obviously tropes are a thing for a reason, because these are things that people like to see in stories. But I don't think that this story had the best execution of those tropes. And where it really shined was when it was original, and there was a lot of that. But overall, I would have to give this a pretty mixed review. This isn't something that I anticipate picking up again. And unless I knew that someone specifically was looking for a story like this, I probably wouldn't recommend it. And so, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you disagree with anything I said, maybe you thought this book was fantastic and you think I was way off, please leave a comment down below. But if you enjoyed the review, make sure to like and subscribe, and have a great day.